What does God say about the divorce of a narcissistic spouse? Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment to breathe in deeply. Feel that air filling your lungs. Life, energy, possibility. Because today we're diving deep into a subject that's as real as it gets. A subject that many face in silence, behind closed doors, and often with a heavy heart. Navigating the spiritual and emotional storm of divorcing a narcissistic spouse. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything for you. I'm here to empower you, to remind you that you are stronger than the chains that try to hold you down, to tell you that even in your darkest hour, God's light never dims. Even when you feel like you're breaking, His plan is still in motion. Now, you may have grown up believing that marriage is forever, no exceptions, that walking away is failure. But listen carefully. Staying bound to toxicity is not what God intends for your life. God does not call you to live in torment or abuse. He calls you to live in freedom, purpose, and peace. And if you're sitting here feeling weighed down by guilt, shame, or confusion about leaving a narcissistic spouse, let me tell you, God does not delight in suffering. He delights in healing. He delights in new beginnings. Let's unpack this step by step, because today is the day you reclaim your power, your peace, and your purpose. God calls you to peace, not chaos. Peace. It's a word we all crave, isn't it? But let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly felt it? Not a moment of calm between storms, but that deep, unshakable peace that settles in your soul like a calm lake on a summer morning. If you've been living in the chaos of a toxic marriage, you might not even remember what peace feels like. And guess what? That's not okay. God never designed your life to be a constant battlefield where you're dodging manipulation, walking on eggshells, and feeling like you're drowning in conflict. Let me remind you, peace is not a luxury, it's a calling. In fact, 1 Corinthians 7:15 clearly says, God has called you to live in peace. Think about that for a moment. God called you to peace, not to tolerate chaos, not to endure abuse, but to live in peace. You see, peace isn't just the absence of conflict. It's the presence of God's order in your life. It's about aligning your heart, mind, and spirit with His divine purpose. And here's the deal. Staying in a toxic marriage where you're constantly under attack, that's not God's purpose for you. Let's not sugarcoat this. Let's not justify the chaos. Let's face it head on. When your home feels like a war zone, it doesn't just drain your energy, it suffocates your soul. It silences your dreams. It diminishes the person God created you to be. That's not peace, that's bondage. And bondage has no place in the life of someone who was set free by the blood of Christ. Now, I know what you're thinking, but doesn't God hate divorce? Listen to me carefully. God doesn't hate people. He hates the things that destroy people. Let's be real. A narcissistic relationship is like a slow poison to your spirit. It chips away at your peace, your joy, your identity. God hates anything that tears His children apart from the inside out. The enemy wants to keep you stuck in the chaos because he knows something you might have forgotten. A peaceful life is a powerful life. When you're at peace, you're unstoppable. You hear God's voice more clearly. You step into your purpose more boldly. You become a force to be reckoned with. That's why breaking free isn't just about survival. It's about stepping into your destiny. But here's the catch. Peace requires action. It's not something that just shows up one day like a package on your doorstep. You have to fight for it. And sometimes fighting for peace means walking away from what's been stealing it. Yes, that might mean divorce. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's scary. But let me tell you something. Peace is worth it. And don't you dare believe the lie that you're being selfish for seeking peace. Choosing peace is choosing life. It's choosing to honor the temple of God that is your body, mind, and soul. It's choosing to break the cycle of chaos so that you, and possibly your children, can thrive in an environment where love and respect are the norm, not the exception. So, what does peace look like for you? Picture it, feel it. A life where you wake up without fear, a home where your voice matters, a spirit that's no longer weighed down by constant battles. That's what God wants for you. That's what He calls you to. And if you're thinking, but I don't deserve peace, let me stop you right there. That's a lie. God's calling to peace is for everyone. There's no asterisk, no exceptions, not only if you're perfect. He calls you to peace because you are his child and he loves you unconditionally. So here's your challenge. Stop making excuses for the chaos. Stop normalizing what's not normal. Stop letting fear hold you back from the life God has prepared for you. Because let me tell you, peace isn't just possible, it's promised. You just have to take that step of faith. Every day you stay in chaos is the day you're saying no to the peace God has for you. And let me tell you, that peace, it's worth fighting for. It's worth the tears. It's worth the hard conversations. It's worth the courage it takes to say, I choose peace, and I choose it today. Love your neighbor as yourself. This includes you. Let's start with this truth. You probably heard the commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, 1,000 times. It's one of the pillars of faith. But here's the part we often miss. This commandment isn't just about how you treat others. It's also about how you treat you. Let me say it again. Loving your neighbor starts with loving yourself. But here's the problem. Somewhere along the way, you may have been taught that loving yourself is selfish, that putting your needs first is wrong. So what do? You pour every ounce of love, energy, and grace into others, even when it leaves you completely drained. Sound familiar? Now let me ask you, when was the last time you treated yourself with the same compassion you give to everyone else? When was the last time you said to yourself, I matter too? Because here's the hard truth. If you don't love yourself, you can't fully love others. Not the way God intended. Staying in a relationship where you are constantly disrespected, manipulated, or devalued isn't love, it's self-abandonment. And let me be clear, self-abandonment is not a sacrifice God asks of you. Sacrifice should never mean giving up your dignity, your worth, or your peace. Think about it this way. How can you pour into others if your own cup is empty? You can't give what you don't have. If you're living with a narcissistic spouse who takes and takes without giving back, your cup isn't just empty, it's bone dry. That's not love, that's survival. And God didn't create you just to survive, he created you to thrive. Loving yourself means recognizing that you are worthy of respect, kindness, and care. It means setting boundaries, protect your heart and your soul. It means saying no to abuse, manipulation, and toxicity. And yes, sometimes it means walking away from people who refuse to treat you with the love you deserve. But here's the good news. God is the ultimate source of love. His love for you is limitless, unconditional, and perfect. When you tap into his love, you begin to see yourself the way he sees you, not as someone who's broken or weak, but as someone who is deeply valued and cherished. And let's not forget, your worth doesn't come from your spouse or your marriage. It doesn't come from your ability to endure hardship or keep the peace. Your worth comes from the fact that you are a child of God, period. No one can take that away from you. When you love yourself, you honor the God who created you. You acknowledge that his work in you is good, and you refuse to let anyone diminish that. Loving yourself isn't about arrogance or selfishness. It's about stewardship. It's about taking care of the precious life God has entrusted to you. Now, loving yourself while dealing with a narcissistic spouse is no easy task. Narcissists thrive on making you doubt your worth. They chip away at your confidence, manipulate your emotions, and make you feel like you're the problem. But hear me loud and clear. Their lies do not define you. God does. So, how do you start loving yourself again? Begin by speaking truth over your life. Open your Bible and read what God says about you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, Psalm 139:14. You are loved with an everlasting love, Jeremiah 31:3. You are more than a conqueror, Romans 8:37. Speak these truths until they take root in your heart. Next, take action. What would it look like to treat yourself with love today? Maybe it's seeking counseling or joining a support group. Maybe it's setting a boundary that says, I will no longer accept this behavior. Or maybe it's making the decision to leave a toxic relationship altogether. Whatever it is, do it. Don't wait for permission from anyone else. You don't need it. And remember, loving yourself doesn't mean you stop loving others. It means you stop enabling their destructive behavior. It means you show them what healthy love looks like by modeling it for yourself. You can love someone and still choose to step away. So here's the challenge. Start seeing yourself the way God sees you. Start treating yourself with the same love and care you give to others. Because when you love yourself, you open the door for God's love to flow through you in a way that transforms not just your life, but the lives of those around you. God hates abuse, not divorce. Let me say this loud and clear. God hates abuse, not you, and not the difficult decisions you have to make to protect yourself from it. Somewhere along the way, people have twisted the message about divorce. They've made it a symbol of failure, a taboo topic, a badge of shame. But let me tell you something. Divorce, especially in the context of abuse or narcissism, is not a failure. It can be a step toward freedom, healing, and alignment with God's purpose for your life. We need to clear the air here. Yes, God values marriage. He designed it as a sacred covenant, a partnership built on love, respect, and mutual care. But does that mean he expects you to stay in a marriage that's toxic, abusive, or soul-crushing? Absolutely not. God doesn't want you trapped in a situation that tears you down. He hates what destroys relationships, and that includes manipulation, cruelty, and emotional or physical abuse. Here's the thing, marriage is meant to reflect God's love. It's supposed to be a safe space where you feel valued, supported, and uplifted. But when a narcissistic spouse uses the marriage to control, demean, or hurt you, it's no longer functioning as God intended. That's not love, it's bondage. And God doesn't delight in bondage. He's a God of freedom, restoration, and redemption. Let's get practical for a moment. Imagine you have a garden, beautiful space where you plant seeds, nurture growth, and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But what happens if a toxic weed takes root? If you ignore it, that weed will choke out the life in your garden. It will steal nutrients, block sunlight, and eventually destroy everything you've worked for. What's the solution? You pull it out. You remove the thing that's harming your garden so it can thrive again. That's what leaving a toxic marriage is. It's removing the thing that's destroying your peace, your joy, and your spirit. And let's talk about the real fear, the thing that keeps so many people stuck in harmful relationships, guilt. What will God think if I leave? Am I sinning? Am I betraying my vows? Listen to me, God's heart breaks when he sees you in pain. His love for you is bigger than the guilt you feel. In fact, Jesus himself said in Matthew 12:7, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. God is not interested in you sacrificing your well-being to stay in a situation that's harming you. And here's another truth. Abuse is a deal breaker, period. Emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, none of it aligns with God's plan for marriage. It doesn't reflect his love and it doesn't reflect his kingdom. When you choose to leave a situation like that, you're not walking away from God, you're walking toward him. You're stepping into the life he intended for you. The Bible is filled with stories of people who had to walk away from toxic environments to fulfill their purpose. Think of Abraham leaving his homeland. Think of the Israelites leaving Egypt. Think of Jesus himself, who walked away from people and places that didn't align with his mission. Sometimes leaving isn't just necessary, it's part of God's plan. But let's not pretend this is easy. Breaking free from a narcissistic spouse can feel like tearing apart your soul. The emotional manipulation, the gaslighting, the constant cycle of blame and guilt, it's exhausting. And yet deep down, you know something has to change. You know God didn't create you to live this way. That's why you're here reading this, searching for clarity and courage. So let me remind you, God doesn't want you living in fear. He doesn't want you questioning your worth or doubting your value. He created you in his image. You are his masterpiece, his child. And no one, not a spouse, not a relationship, not anyone, has the right to make you feel less than that. Divorce isn't the end of your story. It's a chapter, yes, but it's not the final one. God is the ultimate author, and he specializes in writing redemption stories. When you take that step of faith, when you say enough is enough, you open the door for God to do a new thing in your life. Isaiah 43:19 says, see, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? He's ready to restore, rebuild, and renew you. You just have to trust him. And let's not forget, God is close to the brokenhearted. Psalm 34:18 reminds us of this. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. If you're feeling crushed, know that God is closer to you than ever. He sees your pain, your tears, your struggles, and he's not distant or indifferent. He's walking with you every step of the way. So here's your challenge. Stop letting guilt hold you hostage. Stop letting fear keep you in chains. God is calling you to a life of freedom, peace, and joy. And if that means stepping away from a toxic marriage, then so be it. He will meet you on the other side. He will guide you, strengthen you, and remind you that his plans for you are good. Freedom comes with truth. Truth. It's a powerful word, isn't it? It has the ability to set you free or keep you shackled in chains of denial and despair. In John 8:32, Jesus says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." But here's the kicker. Truth is often uncomfortable. It can be painful. It can force you to confront things about yourself and your situation that you'd rather ignore. But without truth, you can't find the freedom that God wants for you. In a relationship with a narcissistic spouse, truth can often feel like a distant whisper amidst the chaos of gaslighting and manipulation. You may find yourself second-guessing your reality, questioning your perceptions, and feeling like you're losing your grip on sanity. But let me tell you, the truth is still there, waiting for you to grab hold of it. The first step in this journey is recognizing the reality of your situation. This means seeing your spouse for who they truly are, not just the person you hoped they would be. A narcissist often presents a charming facade that can make you feel special and loved. But underneath lies a pattern of manipulation and control that is anything but loving. Recognizing this truth is the beginning of your path to freedom. And here's the brutal honesty. You've been conditioned to doubt yourself. You've been led to believe that your feelings are wrong or that you're overreacting. But the truth is that your feelings are valid. Your experiences are real. You deserve to acknowledge what you've been through without shame or guilt. Stop trying to minimize your pain. The next step is to gather evidence, yes, evidence, that supports your truth. Document instances of manipulation, emotional abuse, or control. Talk to trusted friends or family members who can provide perspective. You're not alone in this fight. God places people in our lives to help us see the truth more clearly. And sometimes we need others to help us untangle the lies we've been told. Once you've identified the truth, you must act on it. This might mean setting boundaries with your spouse or even making the difficult decision to leave. Let me tell you, this is where the rubber meets the road, because knowing the truth is one thing, but living it out takes courage. It's not just about acknowledging the reality of your situation. It's about taking the necessary steps to align your life with that truth. There's 5 steps to aligning your life with that truth. Remember, God is the ultimate source of truth. When you turn to him, he will guide you in your journey. Lean into his word. Spend time in prayer. Ask him for clarity and strength. God delights in revealing truth to his children, and he will provide the wisdom you need to navigate this difficult terrain. Now, you might be wondering, what if I'm wrong? That fear is valid, but don't let it paralyze you. Trust in God's ability to lead you. He's not going to let you fall without a safety net. He's not going to abandon you in your search for truth. Even if you take a step in the wrong direction, God is faithful to redirect you and help you find your way back to his perfect plan. And let's not forget, freedom is a journey, not a destination. There will be days when you feel strong and empowered, and there will be days when you feel overwhelmed and scared. That's okay. Embrace the journey. Each step you take toward truth is a step toward freedom, no matter how small it may feel. When you embrace the truth, you reclaim your power. You become an active participant in your own life rather than a passive victim of someone else's manipulation. And that's when you begin to rise. That's when you start to see the possibility of a life beyond the chaos and pain. Let me remind you that God's plans for you are good. He wants you to thrive, not just survive. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." When you embrace the truth, you're stepping into the hope and future God has for you. So here's your challenge. Dig deep and confront the truth of your situation. Don't shy away from it. Embrace it, acknowledge it, and let it guide your steps. Freedom awaits you on the other side. It's time to break the chains of manipulation and step into the light of God's truth. He is with you, and he will lead you to the freedom your heart longs for. You are not alone. Community is essential. Let's face it, going through a difficult marriage, especially with a narcissistic spouse, can feel incredibly isolating. You may find yourself in a place where you feel like no one understands your pain, no one sees the truth, and no one is there to support you. But let me tell you this loud and clear, you are not alone. Community is essential for healing, and God designed us to be in relationship with others for a reason. When you're caught in the turmoil of a toxic marriage, the enemy wants to isolate you. He wants you to feel ashamed, confused, and fearful, leading you to believe that you're the only one facing such challenges. But isolation is a trap. It's a lie that can deepen your pain and prolong your suffering. God didn't create us to do life alone. He created us for connection, support, and love. Think about it, even Jesus had a community. He surrounded himself with disciples, friends, and followers. He shared his joys, his struggles, and his mission with those around him. And if Jesus needed community, how much more do we? The Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes 4, 9, and 10, two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. This is true for you too. You need people who will help lift you up when you're feeling low. So how do you build that community? Start by reaching out. This can be challenging, especially if you're used to hiding your struggles, but it's essential. Share your truth with trusted friends or family members who can offer love and support. You may be surprised at how many people are willing to stand by you when they understand what you're facing. Another powerful option is to seek out support groups, either online or in your local community. Connecting with others who have walked a similar path can be incredibly validating and healing. It allows you to share experiences, gain insights, and find encouragement from those who truly understand the unique challenges of navigating a toxic marriage. Let's not forget the importance of professional support. Counselors, therapists, and coaches can provide invaluable guidance during this tumultuous time. They can help you process your feelings, gain clarity on your situation, and develop a plan for moving forward. Remember, seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. As you begin to build your community, remember that vulnerability is key. It can be scary to open up and share your story, but vulnerability fosters connection. When you allow others to see your struggles, you give them permission to share theirs as well. It creates a safe space where healing can happen and support can thrive. And don't underestimate the power of prayer in your community. Surround yourself with people who will pray for you and with you. Their prayers can lift you up when you're feeling weak and can help you discern God's will for your life. There's a profound strength in coming together in faith, knowing that God is in the midst of your struggles. Now, I know it can feel daunting to open yourself up to others. What if they judge you? What if they don't understand? But let me remind you, the right community will uplift you, not tear you down. They will celebrate your victories, support you in your struggles, and walk alongside you in your journey. This is the kind of community you need, a community that reflects the love of Christ. Let's not forget that community can also be found in spiritual settings. Engaging with your church or faith community can provide a powerful support system. Many churches have programs or ministries specifically designed to help individuals in difficult relationships. They can offer counseling, support groups, and resources that align with your faith journey.